Hello everybody, my name is Brittany. Today I'm just going to be sitting down with you guys and just kind of having a chit chat, kind of letting you guys know my opinion and my story of being a stay-at-home mom. And I would love to get to know yours. Maybe you've had similar experiences, or maybe your experiences have been completely different from mine. But leave a comment down below and tell me any similarities or complete opposites you've had. So to start off, I've been a stay-at-home mom for a year and a half, and that year and a half that I've stayed home has been amazing. I'm very, very lucky that I do get to stay at home, but at times being a stay-at-home mom is stressful and you just want to pull your hair out sometimes. You know, you're so happy that you get to stay at home and see your baby grow and interact with your baby and teach your baby, and that everything that your baby is accomplishing and learning is because of you, and that's the greatest reward ever. But there are those days where it's crazy. It is like the whole world is coming down on you and you're just like in this little box because you're at home the whole entire day. It's just you, and it's kind of like you don't really get a break. You're on call pretty much 24/7. Whereas somebody that goes to a job, they're at the job, they have a lunch break, or they have little breaks in between even their lunch break and when they get off, and they just have periods where they can just shut off everything. Being a stay-at-home mom, there is no shutting off anything, because at any second of the day you can be needed. Trust me, literally any second. You could have just laid them down and think you have, an hour or two to get something done, and that just not be the case because something happens. So here are my experiences being a stay-at-home mom, and some of the things that I've been told or asked that literally just make me very mind blown. So I first started staying at home when we found out I was pregnant with my son. It was a decision me and my husband made that I stay home during my pregnancy. So I stayed home during my pregnancy, which a lot of people had very negative views about. I heard things from, I used to work when I was pregnant, why can't she work, she's being lazy, just a whole big bundle of different things. And many people did not know the whole story of why I stayed home and everything that went into it medically, because I just didn't feel comfortable telling everybody that. But that did play a big part in me deciding to stay home. So fast forward to after I have my son. Of course, about the first month, everybody's really doesn't have an opinion about you staying home yet, because most people don't even go back to work yet. So the first month, everybody's just inundated with how cute the baby is and that they want to stop by and see the baby, and everything is super chaotic because you're trying to get the baby in a sleep schedule. You're up constantly feeding the baby, it seems like, and if you're not feeding the baby, then you're trying to get things done around the house or trying to have a moment to yourself. It's just a whole lot of craziness going on, and it seems kind of like nothing is ever going to be normal again, but thankfully it does return to normal at some point. So by about the second or third month after I had my son is when people started to ask, well, when are you going back to work? Which kind of surprised me, because I figured that wouldn't be a question since I did stay home during my pregnancy. And I did make it known to many people that I'm not one to put my kid in daycare for personal reasons, and I'm not against people that put their kids in daycare. I understand that some people have to work to make an income, and that is the only way they can do that, or they let other family members watch their children while they work a different shift from that family member, or whatever the case. But personally, me and my husband could do it financially, although it did make it, fairly tight. But we decided that money being a little bit tighter outweighed anything that could come along with putting our child in daycare or in the care of others, which everyone around us pretty much works a day shift. So that would mean that me or my husband would have to work a night shift if we wanted somebody else to watch our child. So that wasn't necessarily anything that we wanted to do. Along with, if you know me, you know that my child is not watched by pretty much anybody. I am very, very strict about who watches my child and the settings that my child is watched in and everything else. My child is with me at almost all times, and I know a lot of people think that is pretty crazy, and I've gotten so many comments about how crazy and how I need a break and everything else, but the safety of my child is number one, and I just would feel a whole lot better taking my child with me to the grocery store or to do anything, any errands I have to do, even if my child has a tantrum and a meltdown and everything else on the way. I'd rather deal with that than I would have to deal with the constant worry of what my child's doing, if my child is getting into something, or any possible emergency situation that could come up. So, kind of got off track there. But many people started asking when I was going to go back to work, where I was going to go back to work, what I was going to do. And I started telling people, well, I'm not going back to work just yet. I am still staying at home with my son. I am doing college online. And that's just what we're going to do for a while. It is a decision that we've both made. And people's responses were just shocked. Like, people, when I told them I was still staying home, it was like the end of the world had happened to some people. We did get some positive response. We did have some people say that they understood our choices and that they supported our choices and that they were glad that we could make those choices. But the bad kind of did outweigh the good, and there were many people, family and friends, that just did not agree with our choice, didn't understand our choices, and thought we were nuts. So I got everything from what do you do all day to don't you get bored, I don't see how you do it, there's nothing to do all day, I got you're just lazy, there's nothing you can do, you know, watching your kid all day, you know, there's so much free time that you have. I got things from being a bad wife, even because I wasn't helping my husband financially support us, and many people thought that my husband financially supporting us and being the only financial support was just the end of the world, that it wasn't fair to him. And even though it was his decision as well, it wasn't my decision that I forced upon him, somehow I was still the bad person in the deal. And so if you have ever been a stay-at-home mom any amount of time, you know those statements and questions like what do you do all day, do you get bored, there's so much free time, are totally false. There are days when your child will not go down for a nap to save their lives. There are days when just everything is seeming chaotic and nothing is going right. From the minute you wake up till your child goes to bed, there are those days that it's just like, can this day be over with? It is just, everything has gone wrong. And people don't understand that. When you're a stay-at-home mom, you constantly have the emotions of yourself and a little person to deal with all day. And the little person's emotions aren't as stable. So most of the time you're running on lack of sleep, either because your child is not sleep trained yet, or if your child is sleep trained, usually I know I personally stay up later or wake up earlier than my child does to get other things done while my child is asleep. I don't necessarily like to spend all day while my child is awake cleaning the house or doing my college work or just doing various things that needed to be done. I don't like to spend my time when my child is awake doing that. So I either stay up later or wake up earlier. When I stay, usually it's staying up later, that's my time I get to spend with my husband. And so we do tend to stay up a couple hours after our son does go to bed. So most of the time you're already kind of running on lack of sleep, which can already make your emotions a little bit crazy. It can make things just seem like everything's going crazy and chaotic when sometimes it's really not, but your mind's just kind of blowing it out of proportion. And then you also have just constant, your kid wakes up and then your kid needs to eat and then your kid needs to get this done and that done, and you have one thing after another that you're supposed to be doing. And some moms are very scheduled out. I personally do not run a very tight schedule. I don't say you wake up at 8 o'clock every day and then at 8:02 you're brushing your teeth and at 8:15 you're eating and at 8:25 we're doing this, and I don't do that personally as a mom. Sometimes I think maybe I should, because maybe I would get a little more things done if I had everything scheduled out in blocks. But personally, I've learned with my child that doesn't really work well. Going with the flow works better for him. He's a child that is very, very cranky if he doesn't get his sleep. So I kind of let him decide when he wants to wake up to a certain point, when he wants to take his naps to a certain point again. And bedtime is usually the same time pretty much every day. But I've learned doing things like that there are going to be those days when your child does sleep in more and you do have time to do some things, but there are going to be those days when your child does not take that nap or does not sleep in, where you don't have the time to do those things. So personally, your day is taken up very quickly and you don't even notice sometimes that hours have went by just taking care of your child, playing with your child, and having fun. And sometimes that's the case, and then sometimes it is like only an hour and a half has went by and it seems like hours have went by too. Sometimes you're trying to do everything you can and it doesn't seem like enough. So when people do come in and they sit there and ask you, what do you do all day, and basically belittle you about it, it does not help a mom's self-esteem. It doesn't help what she knows that she's doing, because usually a mom isn't really told that she's doing a good job. She might be told that by her husband, or she might be told that by her mother, for example. But outside of people that are very close to her, people don't usually tell her on a normal basis that she's doing a good job. So when all the negative rolls in and all those questions and comments come in, it just kind of overwhelms her and makes her feel like maybe they're right and maybe I'm not doing enough and maybe I should do this and maybe I should do that. So just keep that in mind as well if you're someone that has asked those questions to a stay-at-home mom, because working moms do a lot. I can tell you that they take care of their child usually before work, and then they go to work and they come home and they take care of their child again. And so they do a lot, but they also have that break away from their child during the day where they get to interact with adults and they get to just kind of have a breather a little bit away from their child, whereas stay-at-home moms are around their child all day and they don't get that grown-up time. So they don't get the one-on-one time with adults like other people do, such as working moms. So it does kind of become a toll emotionally. So that is personally my experience being a stay-at-home mom and things I have gone through and things I have dealt with. So I would like to know your experience. Leave your experiences down below for me to read. And thank you for watching. Bye.